I actually think this is a different take. I think she had a mission that she wanted to do, and maybe she wanted to have a viral moment. She wanted to have a pushback. She came to Fox News and she wanted to have a go after Donald Trump viral moment that plays on a lot of other channels and on social media. And I think she may have gotten that.
If you are looking for a concession of defeat, it doesn't get much clearer that that is exactly what Bret Baier is offering here. And here's the thing, while this might have been a platform for Kamala to defend her positions, in fact it was Bret Baier who went into this interview with the agenda. Remember, he came in here already under fire by Donald Trump, who just days ago posted this on the Truth Social. Lion Kamala Harris has wisely chosen Bret Baier of Fox News to do a much needed interview because he is considered to be fair and balanced, though often very soft on those on the cocktail circuit left. I would have preferred seeing a more hard-hitting journalist, but Fox has grown so weak and soft on the Democrats, constantly polluting the airwaves with unopposed Kamala representatives, that it all doesn't matter anymore. And so it was Bret Baier who needed to do what all Republicans eventually have to do, which is show Daddy Trump that he too could be a good little foot soldier and fall in line. And so he came in with guns blazing to the point where Kamala Harris could barely answer a question without Baier falling over himself to make it abundantly clear that he wasn't as soft as Donald Trump claimed he was.
At the beginning of our administration, within practically hours of taking the oath, the first bill that we offered Congress, before we worked on infrastructure, before the Inflation Reduction Act, before the Chips and Science Act, before the bipartisan Safer Communities Act, the first bill, practically within hours of taking the oath, was a bill to fix our immigration system.
Yes, ma'am. It was called the U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021.
Exactly.
It was essentially a pathway to citizenship for the... Yes, ma'am.
May I finish responding, please? But you have to let me finish,
You
please.
had the White House and the House and the Senate,
and
they didn't bring up that bill.
I'm in the middle of responding to the point you're raising, and I'd like to finish.
Yes, ma'am.
We recognized from day one that, to the point of this being your first question, it is a priority for us as a nation and for the American people. And our focus has been on fixing a problem. And from day one, then, we have done a number of things, including to address our asylum system and put more resources, getting more judges, what we needed to do to tighten up penalties and increase penalties for illegal crossings, what we needed to do to deal with points of entry between border entry points. That's the work we did, and we worked on supporting what was a bipartisan effort, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, to actually strengthen the border. That to the trafficking of drugs, guns, and human beings. And Donald Trump, but let me just finish.
Six Democrats voted against that bill.
Learned about that bill and told them to kill it because he preferred to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And in this election, this is rightly a discussion that the American people want to have. And what they want are solutions, and they want a president of the United States who's not playing political games with the issue,
I hear you,
but actually is focused on fixing it.
Remember Giuliani's 2008 presidential run, where everything out of his mouth was mocked as being a noun, a verb, and 9/11? Well, if Republicans today aren't vilifying immigrants at all times, then they're not doing their jobs. And Bret Baier not only spent the majority of the interview discussing immigration, but at no point did he bother conceding that the only reason that there isn't any strong immigration law in the country right now is because Donald Trump wanted to preserve the issue to run on. At no point did he bother conceding that when Trump and Republicans had full control of government from 2021 to 2023, did they bother passing a border security bill, opting instead to rely on temporary restrictions predicated on the COVID outbreak. I don't know how to make this any clearer. Republicans will prey on your fears about immigrants while at the same time doing their level best to ensure that nothing material changes at the border, because their goal isn't fixing any problems, it is entrenching and exacerbating them for their political benefit. And once he got what he needed from immigration, he then pivoted to the next right-wing boogeyman, clearly the most important issue facing voters in this election cycle, the issue of whether inmates could get taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries. Truly the one issue that touches every American.
This is a time when voters, especially here in Pennsylvania, are inundated with commercials and ads. They just want it to stop because it's every commercial. But many of them add noise, but a few of them seem to break through. This particular one from the Trump campaign has gotten a lot of attention.
Kamala supports taxpayer-funded sex changes for prisoners.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
So are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law, and it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed. You're probably familiar with, now it's a public report, that under Donald Trump's administration, these surgeries were available on a medical necessity basis to people in the federal prison system. And I think, frankly, that ad from the Trump campaign is a little bit of like throwing, stones when you're living in a glass house.
The Trump aides say that he never advocated for that prison policy and no gender transition surgeries
you know what, you got to take responsible for what happened in your administration.
And of course, this was set up as a gotcha, and yet what did Harris do? Explain that the Trump administration was bound by the exact same laws. I mean, my God, if you're going to attack the Democrats, perhaps make sure that you're not guilty of the exact same thing first. But Kamala went a step further here, using the opportunity to expose the whole purpose of this issue being in the spotlight in the first place.
Would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassignment surgeries?
I will follow the law, just as I think Donald Trump would say he did.
You would have a say as president.
Like I said, I think he spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voters because he actually has no plan in this election that is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Whereas, at $20 million on that ad, on an issue that, as it relates to the biggest issues that affect the American people, it's really quite remote. And again, his policy was no different. Look at where we are, though.
They say
on plans for the American people, I'm offering a plan to deal with affordable housing. I'm offering a plan to deal with what we need to do to strengthen small businesses, which are the backbone of America's economy. I am offering a plan that is about taking care of young parents and giving them the support they need. My plans for the economy will strengthen the economy, as have been reviewed by 16 Nobel laureates, Goldman Sachs, Moody's, and recently the Wall Street Journal, which have all studied our plans and have indicated my plans for our economy would strengthen our economy, his would make them weaker, would ignite inflation and invite a recession by the middle of next year. Those are the facts.
Meanwhile, where was Trump during all of this? The tough guy in the race? The alpha? The one who isn't afraid of anyone? Well, he attended an all-female Fox News town hall in Georgia, ostensibly filled with undecided voters, only that wasn't exactly the case because this town hall was filled primarily with Republican Trump supporters from the area who had been invited expressly by Fox News to attend. This woman is the president of the Fulton County Republican Women. This woman is wearing a Trump pin. This one is wearing a hat that says RNC Delegate. This isn't some earnest town hall. It's a Trump rally sponsored by Fox News. This is a safe space for the same guy who beats his chest that he can take tough questions. And yet, while Kamala Harris sits down with the host of a network that literally spent $787 million for lying on Trump's behalf, the best Trump could manage is Faulkner Harris, which comes on the heels of other fawning interviews by Maria Bartiromo and Kristi Noem. Wow, talk about having some balls. You haven't seen an alpha until you've watched Donald Trump field tough questions from his most fawning mouthpieces. So look, frankly, I don't know how this could be worse for Bret Baier, for Fox, and for Trump. Baier sacrificed any plausible deniability he had left that he wasn't a simp for Trump, and yet still couldn't top Kamala in this interview. Fox gave its platform to a woman who made clear for their audience that at worst she was willing to take tough questions, and at best she actually has a mastery of the facts in front of her and is worth a second look in this election. And Trump looks like a wimp for avoiding every tough interview, from 60 Minutes to CNBC to a second debate with Kamala Harris herself. He is putting his fear on full display, and he's doing it at the same time that she is broadcasting her strength. And if Bret Baier can admit as much on Fox, then it's going to be difficult for anyone else to deny it. Before you go, just a quick note, if you'd like to see more of my content, which is always free of advertising, sponsorships, and paywalls, please make sure to subscribe to this channel using the subscribe button right here on the screen. And if you'd like to support my work even further, you can grab a copy of my instant #1 New York Times selling book, Shameless, available for sale right now. That link is also on the screen. Thanks so much for watching.